All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to another beer brew review. And today we're going to be doing a brewing experiment where I'm going to find out if you can make beer in an Instant Pot. All right, so I'm sure you've seen that there's a lot of people making wine in Instant Pots now, ever since that process was found out relatively recently. And I wanted to see if I could use the steps of that process to make a beer kit. But while I don't believe it's going to make a delicious beer, I figure why not? It's a brewing experiment. Let's do it. Let's find out. But we have to have something to compare it against. So what I'm doing, I got my Instant Pot here, I've got a normal pot here, and I've got two identical brew kits. The Northern Brewer Irish Red 1 gallon homebrew recipe kit. Both kits right here. Got two of them, identical brew kits, and I'm going to do one in the Instant Pot. I'm going to take some liberties because I don't have an Instant Pot big enough to do exactly all the steps with it. So it's going to be a little bit different, but we're just going to kind of see what happens. But I'm also going to brew right along next to it a normal brewing recipe kit and see at the end of the day, when all the beer is fermented, done, and drinkable, what is the difference? How different does it taste? Does one supersede the other one? And we're just going to kind of have fun with this one. So here's the question. Can you brew beer in an Instant Pot? Honestly, I don't see why not until I get to the steps of fermentation. It's one of the things I've always questioned about those wine in the Instant Pot. It's contingent on using a certain setting in the Instant Pot that puts it into a temperature range that's not happy for, or most yeasts are not happy in. But we're going to kind of see what happens. So I'm already going to tell you about some liberties I've had to take with this. The kit calls for 1.25 gallons of water to be brought to a boil while adding in for a 10-minute addition of these grains in order to give it some aroma, some color, some flavor, etc. The Instant Pot, my Instant Pot does not hold 1.25 gallons. It holds about 1 gallon at the top. So some of the liberties I'm taking here involve the fact that I can't use the full amount of water in this vessel. So we're going to kind of see what we can do to make it work. I also filled it up pretty much all the way. Let me show you guys. I filled it up pretty much all the way, leaving some room for the DME because it's going to, this DME is going to take up some room in there. So having done that, I set it to boil or to an Instant Pot setting. I put it to soup and turned it on to see how long it was going to take to actually come up to quote unquote temperature. It actually got its temperature in a relatively quick time frame, and then I let it sit in an off state for approximately an hour, and it still had pressure in it. And then I released the pressure and opened it up, and it was still boiling. So you're supposed to put in the grains while it comes up to a boil, but this has already been boiled. I'm letting it cool off a little bit, and then I'm going to add the grains. I've got my actual 1.25 gallons of water in this pot right here. And I turned it on, and it's getting close to coming up to a boil. So I'm kind of trying to even out what's going on. But either way, let's add the grains into each of these for approximately 10 minutes as it calls for, and then we'll move on from there. Snip. Snip. Apparently you must snip lower. Snip. You know what? This bag has a Ziploc piece of it right here, and then a bunch of extra plastic that was sealed. There was no way to open it, so I cut it off. I've snipped it as close to the Ziploc as I possibly can, and I still can't open this thing up. I don't understand the point of it having a Ziploc portion of it if there's no way to open it up. But since I never have to open it again anyway, it doesn't really matter. So screw that. One small bag, DME. Excuse me, one small muslin bag full of the grains. Very short, so I can't really tie it to the side of my Instant Pot or my normal pot. I'm going to have to just drop it in and then take it out in about 10 minutes. Second bag of grains. Ten-minute timer. All right, folks, 10 minutes have elapsed. Let's get these grains out of here. because there's no way to keep part of this outside of the pot. It's really hot, so watch out if you do this. Woo-wee. All right, so check it out. What do we have going on here? This is the color and consistency. A little bit. The muslin bag had a little hole in it, so there's a little couple flecks floating around, but that's okay. That's the color consistency of that one. The regular pot, this is the color consistency of the Instant Pot, and the reason for that, I'm sure, is because there is so much less liquid. And by less, I mean there's probably about 1/4 of a gallon less in here, because like I said, it only holds about a gallon of water if I'm really pushing the limits of it. The demarcations on the side only go up to 10 ounces. 16 ounces is the demarcations on the side only go up to 10 cups, 16 cups in a gallon. There's also a max fill line. There's no demarcations in between. It's approximately a gallon. I measured it out. But I'm a little bit below that, like I said, because I need to add room for this DME. But I'm still going to keep on going. So, yeah, turn these on, both of them, until they go up to a boil. And once it gets up to a boil, what I can do then is I can add the DME and the hop addition and let the boil go. The joy of choosing this hop kit, there's only the one addition at the beginning, and then you let it run. I need to get this Instant Pot back up to a boil and this up to a boil. The best way, I think, is I'm going to close this Instant Pot, turn it on to some soup setting or whatnot, close the vent, and the second, this here, that's the Instant Pot saying it's set. This here starts to like flutter and is about to close. Then I'm going to know that it's basically about to boil. There's enough steam in there that it's probably actually boiling at that point. But there'll be enough steam in there that I'll know that's the beginning of the boil, and I'll open it back up and I'll start adding stuff. So let me come back when we are at that point. All right, here we go. So both of these, I have to turn this one off for a second because it came to a boil early. This one finally, it sealed on me. It actually took me a minute to get it back opened up. But as you can see, we are at a boil in the Instant Pot. And while we bring this back up to a boil here, which, there we go, it's pretty much already there. What we need to do is prepare to add our DME and our hops to both of these and then start a 45-minute boil in this particular recipe kit. So, we'll add the DME to the Instant Pot. And we'll add the DME to the normal boil. So this one dissolved relatively easily into there. This one obviously is hanging out on the top because it does not have a rolling boil going on anymore. So I got to make sure this Instant Pot DME dissolves appropriately. And look how, I guess I could have used a little bit more water, but I probably lost a lot due to steam release already. Like I said, taking some liberties. All right, so I feel I have thoroughly dissolved the DME in both of these. The Instant Pot is not on at this moment. I can actually probably turn it on and see what happens. And this one has come to a nice rolling boil. I'm not going to count the 45-minute boil until the Instant Pot actually starts to run, starts to seal again. I'm going to add my Willamette hops to both. This is my only hop addition in each of these pots. Apologize for the camera work. You might not have been able to see it there, but hops are now in both of these brews. You can see the nice, lovely color in this one. This one, can't really see the color change too much, but rest assured, they're in there. So let's get this thing sealed back up. I said a 45-minute boil So now I need to make sure the lid gets on. So there's enough steam in there that it's actually hard to get the lid to seal, but there we go. I'm gonna restart this thing and we're gonna go to a manual temperature right now of 45 minutes because that's what this boil is supposed to be. And the timer should not start. Seal this thing again. The timer should not start until the seal has been made. And right when that seal has been made, I'm going to use this timer that's on here for both of these right now. So all I need to do is let this pot sit here and continue to rolling boil and wait until the Instant Pot says it is sealed and 45 minutes has elapsed. All right, Instant Pot has sealed. 45-minute timer has started. So our brew timer for both of these is commencing. And the 45-minute boil has come to an end for both of these batches. Let's turn off this. Open up the steam vent on this. And we are going to prepare to get the wort cooled to an acceptable temperature for yeast pitching. I'm just going to submerge it here into some cold water. And keep in mind, from here on out, everything needs to be sanitized because we're no longer boiling. So we're going to bring this down to a temperature of around 70 degrees. Take a specific gravity reading, get it into a fermentation vessel, and pitch the yeast as a normal brew. This one, on the other hand, once we get it opened, I need to get it down to a good temperature, just like the other one, but it's going to stay in the Instant Pot, and we're going to set it to a different setting and let it go for 48 hours with the yeast in there. So hang tight while I get both of these experiments down to a good temperature, and we will continue. So one thing I just wanted to point out is I can already see a major difference between these two batches, and that this one, the normal homebrew method, is pretty clear. Everything's dissolved appropriately in there. Whereas the one that was done in the Instant Pot, I don't know how well you can see that on camera. There is a lot more sediment in this. There was a lot of, when I finally got this open, there was a lot of the hops around the outside of this container. I don't know if that has to do with the fact that there's less boil volume that it started with. Yeah, you can see that. Like, look at that stuff all coming up, and it was dissolved pretty well before we started. I don't know if it's because there's less boil volume, so it actually wasn't truly dissolved because it needed more liquid to dissolve in, or if it has to do with a much higher temperature at which an Instant Pot, due to the pressure and the steam, is going to actually be running this boil at. So it'll be interesting to see how that settles out at the end of everything else. But this is still very, very, very hot. I need to get this one cooled down. I'm working on it still with this ice bath, and then I can, or it's not really an ice bath, just a cold water bath. But then I can work on getting the Instant Pot one cooled down as well. So still working on the cooling. All right, both brews are now nicely within somewhere in the mid-70s range. So let's get some specific gravity readings. This is on the normal brew, and as you can see, you can't see too well through the bubbles, but it's approximately a about a 1060 or so, maybe 1055 original gravity reading. Now let's get the other one. And this is the specific gravity of the Instant Pot. Looks like a slightly less, probably more closer to 1050 on this one. Again, it's very hard to tell because of the bubbles, but a little bit lower of a specific gravity than the normal brew. All right, so for the normal brew, I'm just going to put it right here in this fermentation vessel using a funnel, all sanitized. Now I'm going to add my active brewing yeast and my cork and airlock. Now this will sit for 2 weeks. On the other hand though, the Instant Pot brew goes back into the Instant Pot. It's back into the Instant Pot. I'm going to add the yeast. I'm going to close it up. I'm going to leave it in the vented position for now. And I am going to go to the yogurt setting to the here we go. Just had to figure out the setting for a minute. So you have to go to the yogurt setting and set it to 48 hours. And make sure you've moved the pressure to less. Not normal, not more, but less. This is the part I'm curious about. Every 6 to 8 hours, I'm supposed to toggle this between venting and sealed. This is all just based on the way that they do it with the wine. I'm just following that exact guidelines from here on out to see what this does differently. Supposedly, from what I understand, the yogurt setting on the low setting or the less setting on an Instant Pot will keep the temperature range approximately 80 degrees. Now for wine, that might be okay, even though yeasts still usually like a little bit lower of a temperature, but some wine yeasts do like a higher temperature. This yeast in particular supposedly likes between 65 to 70 degrees, so I'm really curious to see what keeping this thing at around 80 degrees for the next 48 hours is going to do. And after 48 hours, we are going to transfer this into a jug, just like this one, but we need to make sure we mark it in a special way so we know which one came from where, and then it will finish out its fermentation process just like this first brew is going to, and then in a couple of weeks we'll get to taste test. So now we just play the waiting game. Okay, just for a running update, we are 15 hours in so far. As you can see, the normal brew fermenting quite nicely. Got some bubbles running in the airlock here. Here's the Instant Pot. I've already turned this back, toggled it once between venting and non-venting. I don't really see what that's going to do because it never reseals again, which it shouldn't. It's not that hot. But if I open this, you can see clearly we've got action going on in here. So the 80 degrees seems to be keeping the yeast happy enough. So we'll let it keep going until the 48 hours has elapsed, at which time we will transfer this brew over to a jug just like this one, and then we will condition it the rest of the way and ferment it the rest of the way, just like a normal brew. All right, everybody, as you can see, we are within the last hour of this 48-hour process. That just hit 47 hours. I'm going to call that good enough. I'm not going to wait the other hour. I want to get this transferred over to the fermentation vessel. I will tell you, I took a temperature reading of this. It's actually been hanging out at about 90 degrees the entire time for the last 48 hours. So I did see some fermentation action. I'm surprised, though. The temperature is a lot higher than I was expecting it to be, a lot higher than the yeast would like it. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen here. The other thing I will notice is every 6 to 8 hours, you're supposed to toggle this between sealed and vented. I'll tell you, I'm pretty sure that's completely pointless because it's not on a temperature or pressure that's high enough to actually seal this pot, whether I'm sealed or vented on the main part of the Instant Pot. The things are going to still escape out where the metal actual seal is at on here. So I don't think that's really useful, but I don't know if we'll ever do this again either. So let's open this baby up. It smells terrible. I will tell you that. It does not smell good. So let's see if this is too hot. This is good enough. I'm going to take this. I've got sanitized funnel and sanitized fermentation jug sitting in the sink over there. I'm going to go transfer this into there so we can have 2 brews just fermenting in their standard fermentation jugs. So I will say after that, I'm in a bit of a predicament here because, let's see if you can get a good angle at this. This is all the sludge that's left in the bottom of the Instant Pot container right now. Normally, when you're doing a brew, if I'm moving it from primary fermentation to secondary, you want to get rid of this. The problem is we're only 48 hours into the fermentation period. Since this is an experiment and nobody's really ever gone down this road before, I'm not sure if this should be added to the brew or not, because it's probably got a lot of yeast and stuff in it. I'm going to discard it. If you want to do this experiment, you can try it a different way, but we're going to discard what's in here and hope this thing continues to ferment for the next 2 weeks or so to bring the alcohol content to where it's supposed to be. But right now, I will remove my funnel, seal this up, and now we have 2 fermentation vessels. Interestingly enough, even though we started out with so much less, because we probably lost less because the Instant Pot is a sealed system, we have more liquid in here than we do in the one that was brewed in a normal way that started out with more liquid before the brew started because the pot was bigger. So that's just something to take note of. But we also do have a nice layer of sediment on the bottom of this one as well, the one that came from the standard brew. And my air bubbles have slowed down a lot already in this one, so we'll kind of see how this whole thing goes. But we're going to sit here in this state for 2 weeks before we bottle. So here we go, it's bottling day, and this is the normal brew. As you can see, it has come down to a final gravity of about 10, 15. Yeah, right about 10, 15. We'll give it. Now let's check on the other brew. And here is the Instant Pot batch, amazingly also making its way to just about 10, 15, somewhere between 10, 10 and 10, 15. So it appears that the yeast still did their work, and it sugars enough to bring the final gravities down to the same final gravities between the 2 batches. And I will say, it actually smells much better than it did previously, so we might got something going here. Well, here is the yield from both batches of beer. Got the Instant Pot brews over here, 3 regular bottles and 3 fancier bottles. I've also got the non-Instant Pot here with 3 regular bottles and 3 fancier bottles. I have marked all the Instant Pot bottles on the bottom with an I, so that when tasting day comes, I will remember which ones were which. Now we wait. All right, everybody, the day has finally arrived. It's time to taste test the Instant Pot versus the non-Instant Pot homebrew recipe. I have 2 bottles, one of the Instant Pot version, one of the non-Instant Pot version in a normal bottle, and 2 capped bottles with these other types of caps on them. I was just testing out some other things I had. I don't know which one's which. Put these in the fridge a couple days ago. The wife moved them around to different spots in the fridge, so I wouldn't know which one's which. It's written on the bottom. I'm not going to look, though, because we're going to open these up together. I'm going to taste them. We're going to try to determine, for one, do both of them, either of them, none of them taste good at all? Do they have carbonation? Can I tell the difference between the 2? If you remember, I think the one specific gravity got down to around 10-10, and the other one was just over 10-10. And I did look, and that is the expected final gravity of these brews. So the brew process seems to have happened appropriately. So let's take a look, see if there's anything I can noticeably tell. And I can't noticeably tell anything in these bottles. So get this close to the camera. We're going to crack it and see if we hear a carbonation. A little bit of carbonation pop in that one. It's actually a little bit difficult to get off. Ugh. A little bit of a carbonation pop in that one. How about this one? That one had a nice carbonation pop, actually. Hopefully you guys can hear that. Okay. Okay. They smell very similar. Both of them smell yeasty. So it doesn't smell like a traditional beer. So it's possible that both of them got contaminated or something. I'm not sure. Let's taste them. Let's find out. Oh, no, that tastes fine. It's not nearly, you can see the carbonation going up in there a little bit in the bottle. Not very carbonated, but it tastes fine. I just realized you guys probably saw the bottom of this and whether it said something on it or not. No, that's okay. It's got a slight aftertaste and a slight off flavor in the aftertaste, but it's not bad. Let's do this one. Ooh. Ooh. This tastes terrible. Oh. It definitely does not taste like beer. It tastes like something is completely off and completely like rancid in there. Woo. Hold on. Some water here. Taste this one more time. Make sure it wasn't just like after flavor from this first one. It smells. It doesn't smell bad. It's got good carbonation, but oh man, does that taste terrible. I gotta say, if this one is not the Instant Pot version, we have a problem. This definitely, to me, tastes like it's the Instant Pot version because, as I told you, going through the process, putting on the low yogurt setting, as they say to do with the winemaking, I did some measurements. There was 90 degrees in the middle of the 24 hours in or so when I actually decided to let's do a temperature test of this thing. Yes, I did use sanitized equipment and everything, so it's not that would be when I introduced any bacteria to the brew or anything. But 90 degrees is way higher than the yeast are supposed to be living at. So I completely would understand why Instant Pot recipe for homebrew is unsuccessful. Let's find out. Oh, thank God. I don't know if you can see it. There is the eye. That means Instant Pot. I hope you guys can see that on the camera, but there is, I'm going to stick my thumb in there. There's an eye on the bottom of this thing, which means it's the Instant Pot. So clearly the Instant Pot homebrewing method is not recommended. Who knows? I could have screwed it up. I don't think it would be successful anyway. I did this experiment so that you guys don't have to, and I would urge you not to do it because doing it maybe for the initial boil would have been okay. Granted, the quantities were a little bit different because my Instant Pot didn't hold as much. The boil was fine. I think that part went successfully, and you could have done your hour boil in a sealed Instant Pot environment, then transferred it right to a fermenting vessel. That 48 hours on that yogurt setting, I'm confident just ruined this beer, and it is terrible. Every bit as terrible as I imagined it would be. So now I don't even want to open these up, but we're going to do it for science. Let's see. Ooh, a nice, look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. I didn't have any towels out here and at the ready for this. So, so quickly, let's get this thing cleaned up. And it is just still going. Good Lord. It's coming out really fast. It's hard to get a taste. Oh. Yep. I for Instant Pot. And oh, dear God, is that terrible. Ooh. Whew, this is not the eye, right? At least the normal batch is okay. Ooh, it's about to spill over as well. I just woke the beast in there. Yeah, long story short, don't do it. It's terribly disgusting. Fun experiment nonetheless, but anyway, guys, stay tuned for the next beer brew review. God, that is awful.